morning, everyone. I've been listening to what everyone else has been saying, and what I have to say is kind of anticlimactical. Are you willing to be disturbed? This idea came from one of my teachers, Carol Bell Knight, about 40 years ago. And I really haven't thought of it much since, but her idea was to teach us that, to affirm, to have this as an affirmation. I am willing to be disturbed. And of course, that was very disturbing to me, that she would think that we need to learn to be disturbed. Aren't we enough disturbed already? But what Nora talked about was so good, because that's Margaret Wheatley was the first person I came upon also when I went to the internet to look up this idea. So that's how I've often been starting my ideas for my talks, is to go to the internet instead of these wonderful books that I have hundreds of all over my house. Isn't it amazing how books are becoming obsolete, you know? Of course not. They're still extremely important to our culture and to our training and to our learning and to our spirituality. So, notwithstanding the fact that I didn't really understand what she was trying to teach us, I decided that there are some ideas in there that I can really learn about. And Margaret Wheatley, in her book Turning to One Another, is about using groups. And yeah, you can't see me through the flowers. I'm kind of short. We all know the ways in which we get disturbed. Disturbance is all around us. Okay. Now even on Zoom you can see me. So my thought became, we may as well be willing to be disturbed, because it's going to happen anyway. I didn't want to say that, but it just happens to be, it happens to be the truth. But can we be disturbed and to be aware of what we do? To be aware of what we're thinking. And the awareness will lift us to a different level. It will elevate our thoughts and our feelings. It's not easy, but from this higher place we can get a much better perspective, and we'll have more choices. Actor William Shatner is 91. In 2021, he took a flight into space on Blue Origin, and he shared his experience this way. It returned a feeling of hope to my heart. In this insignificance we share, we have one gift that other species perhaps do not. We are aware, not only of our insignificance, but of the grandeur around us that makes us insignificant. And I have a story you've heard before. When I was 5 years old, my father took us outdoors, took a blanket, and we looked up to the sky and saw the whole Milky Way. And you have to go far from any city to really see the whole Milky Way. And that's one thing I miss, because one of the things I do to try to avoid being disturbed is to look up into the sky and see the planets and the stars. And actually, There are a lot of stars that we can see even around here, but definitely not as many as when you go out and just in a dark place, in a dark environment. So I urge you to do that. What happened at that moment, and the reason I remember that time lying on the blanket looking at the stars, is because I felt so insignificant. And yet at the same time I felt so, how could I be so aware? How could I know who I am and still see millions of stars, a gigantic space that was, as a 5-year-old, completely unimaginable, completely mysterious to me. And this, even at that young age, I recognized that this awareness is part of spirit, is part of a bigger understanding. So there were 3 things that disturbed me this week, I know there were lots more, and I wish there were a lot less. So my car needs a $350 repair because some little animal chomped through a wire between my parking brake and what makes the parking brake work. And I took my car in, and they said, yes, well, we'll look for the part and we'll get back to you. Well, they got back to me and they said, well, we can't buy the part without buying the whole apparatus. That was just one thing disturbing me this week. And this is even worse. So you've heard my mouse stories, but this is a raccoon. I think this is a raccoon story, I think. And you may have heard my opossum stories. But but I heard a thumping in the ceiling of my room upstairs, where some years ago there was a raccoon. So I thumped back. And no, we didn't start up a conversation. So anyway, I haven't heard it since, but it still means I have to do something about that. And I need to do it now because even though I've been putting off doing something about the area of the real raccoon that I saw last spring on the west side of the house. This one's on the east side of the house. And, you know, they have families, and I didn't want to kill them. Anyway, so it remains to be what I don't know yet about what I'm going to do about it. But I called, I called a place, and it happens to be in Ohio. This is what the phone gave me when I said, help me find someone to take care of this animal in my roof. And they want $350 just to come out and look and see what to do. I think I have a wonderful neighbor who could come back and forth several times, and I mean, really, you know, I'd be happy. I mean, I won't. Anyway, I'll find out. So now I have to. What's the life cycle of the raccoon, and when do their babies get born, and what, you know, all this jazz. So the next thing that happened, I tried to call Xfinity to find out why my bill had gone so high, and why they didn't, why they had never changed the contract to reflect my name My husband's been gone a year and a half, and they haven't changed it, even though somewhere on that is my name because they know me. But what happened on the phone was you're talking to a computer and you say, I want to know this. And they say, well, we're going to send you a link and you need to click on this link to do something. And of course they sent it to the phone number they have for my husband. The phone has been gone. The phone has been gone for a year and a half. You know, there was no way for me to get, and I couldn't convince the computer I couldn't convince the computer what the right phone number was. I mean, anyway, so because I never clicked on the link, the computer politely hung up on me. I called back. I finally did get a person who didn't quite understand how to explain. I mean, tried to explain to me why the price had gone up, and well, we're improving our quality of things that we're sending you. You know, that's a, you know. Anyway, it might as well have been the computer that said that, because that's about how much it meant to me. That's how much it meant to me. So, if you're willing to be disturbed, it sets you up for receiving all the good that you deserve just by being alive. And I figured I need all the help I can get, obviously. And so my work is to understand that I am worthy to receive. And this is a thing that Dan Millman talks about. We are worthy. We are worthy to receive. We are worthy just because we're alive. So I have a few suggestions. I wanted to talk about a few ideas I had about being disturbed. And as I was writing this, my cat is lying across my computer, disturbing my writing. He is purring, which means that at least one of us is happy. So we all have difficult people in our lives for whom we need an endless amount of compassion and patience. And we need to do more than just put up with this. We need to bless. We need to bless it. We need to take, we just need to take extraordinary measures. We need to bless the wild animals. We need to bless the computers and the companies. And we need to bless the cats lying across the computer. And if we should do that, again, we are lifting ourselves out of the mess. We're lifting ourselves, and not that it always seems like it's deserved, but of course it is always deserved. If we want to consider ourselves worthy to receive what we're entitled to, then we have to be able to give it to others, even big companies, but especially each other. We have to be willing and ready to let go of the past. Most of our experiences, you know, if not immediately in the past, I mean, yeah, well, everything is immediately in the past once it's past the present, right? So we have the opportunity to let go. And sometimes we take that opportunity and sometimes we don't. But I encourage you to listen within and the answers that come to us are much higher, much more gentle than we might think of. Life is messy, complicated, and it's also more fun than we may have imagined, but it also can be more painful than we may have imagined. So let me read a little bit from this book. This is Dan Millman, Everyday Enlightenment. He has several books. I don't know how many, but they're really quite wonderful in the sense that they're easy to read. The Upside of Adversity. He broke his leg on his way well, just before he was to fly to Europe, the World Gymnastic Championships. I don't quite know, I think this was probably in the 90s. It may have been one of the most spiritually useful things that ever happened to me. It shook me up and made me consider the bigger picture of life and death. It set into motion some new directions. It's just that we can, if we examine the bigger picture, find blessings in adversity. We do not seek pain, injury, or illness, but we can appreciate that everything contains its opposite, an upside and a downside. We try not to get too emotionally involved in specific outcomes. Let's remain curious about our own reactions to everything, and with awareness we can watch everything and choose our response, choose our reaction. It's also a great idea to trust that our inner being knows how to find solutions we have never thought of. So once again, it helps us to be open, to listen, to trust for solutions we never would have thought of. We are strong, we are resilient, we're capable, we're more capable emotionally, physically, intellectually, and spiritually than we know. And it means that we learn to accept the things we cannot change. And it means that we're willing to be responsible for the rest. We can change how we feel about something, about anything that seems to come into what we call our problems. I was irritated with a friend a few weeks ago, and I knew I had the opportunity to be obsessed about it, because I've obsessed about things in the past. And then I decided, I was looking around my house, I'm thinking, I have a lot of work to do here. Before, what's left in my house and property and the things undone are really like a burden that I have to, for my own health, I have to clean up, fix up, rearrange, give away, sell. There's just lots and lots of stuff. So my guide for that, for what to give away and what to keep is, if I move, when I move, what do I want to take with me? What do I want to have probably for the rest of my life? What can I, and I don't see very much. I see a lot of beads because I make jewelry, but I see a lot of clothes. I'm giving a lot of clothes away. And what if, as we look about these ideas, what if all really is well? What if all this movement and our energy we'll never get it back. We'll never, if we think of the time that we waste doing things we aren't meaningful for us, we'll never get them back. And we will never know exactly why anything happens the way it does. So what if all really is well? What if we should happen to trust the process and find ourselves in a place with a sense of balance, even with things as they are right now? I meditate a little bit, I breathe a little bit, not enough. But I have to tell you how much I appreciate a deep breath. And you would think I would enjoy deep breaths much more often. I spent 10 years with asthma. Really, it was really awful. If you've never experienced, and most of us haven't, your bronchial tube's just contracting. There's a lot of muscles in that bronchial tube. So deep breaths really are possible. But every time I take a really deep breath, I really, really appreciate it. So let's get through all these problems we think of as problems and breathe and breathe and remember how blessed we truly are. We take the time to meditate, take the time to bless everything. And the more we trust the process, the more openings we move into to enjoy. And that's all.